When I first started out, as I said, one of the first really big gigs that I had, besides waiting tables, was that I went on the Michael Jackson tour, and I began writing songs with a guy on that tour who had connections with Eric Clapton and with Phil Collins. And in my free time on that tour, we would write songs, and when the tour was over, he actually handed Eric and Phil a couple of songs that we had written. And both of them, Phil held one for a long time, and Eric actually recorded one. And because of that, I had publishing companies that were interested in me. And at that time, when the tour was over and nobody was interested in signing me, and the money was running out, and I was having to wait tables again, and I was trying to get gigs at pay-to-play clubs, I needed to work. And I felt like being a songwriter wasn't a sellout for what I saw myself to be, and that was a songwriter.
Music publishing is the rights involved in songwriting. There's two distinct rights involved in records. One is the physical record itself, which is the artist and the singing. The other is the song, the intangible song that's created, maybe not even by the artist, often not. And they're two separate sets of rights. Under the record itself, the artist deals with the record company. Under the songwriting portion of it, the songwriter is dealing with someone called a publisher. And a publisher is someone that makes the following speech. They say, look, you're a creative person, you're a songwriter. You hand your song over to me, I'm the business person. In exchange for you trusting me with your song, I'm going to give you money for it in advance. I'll split a piece of the income with you. The amount of the split is negotiable. I will get people to record it, I will exploit it, and I will generally just protect and take care of your interests.
Music publishing involves a few things. But basically what we do is we as a publisher own or administer music publishing rights to songs, and it's our job basically to make sure that a few things are happening. One is that the song is being properly registered with the Copyright Office, with the performance societies, that the song is properly licensed, and to make sure that the money on a worldwide basis is being properly collected and paid through to our songwriters. The other things that we do are we provide a lot of creative support. So we have a full staff worldwide that deals with plugging songs and dealing with A&R people and the creative areas. We also work songs in the film and TV area and commercials. So there's really a whole variety of services that we provide to songwriters, in addition to having recording studios and developing bands and developing writers and assisting them in their overall career. And we basically we'll do that from the more novice songwriter to some of the biggest bands in the world.
Publishing is basically a banking function. The role of the publisher for a new artist usually is giving the writer an ability to sell an interest in his copyrights to the publisher, usually 50% of it, and in exchange for that, the publisher gives that artist an advance against the royalties that he will be earning.
Well, the first thing is that for a young writer, unless you really, need money, wait until you, for one, have a couple of records out there so you can get a good publishing deal. Hopefully you'll have a manager at the time or someone who's familiar with the game, because one of the things you want to look for is for the records to invert back to you eventually. Maybe in 7 years you own the copyrights again, and make sure you don't give away all of your publishing. Publishing deals could be great, front end wise, but sometimes it can hurt you because you can start off as a publisher and getting a publishing deal at one level, and while you're in, you're bigger than life, but you're kind of stuck to an agreement that was formed when you wasn't. But most publishers are good at coming back and renegotiating and making things happen or whatever. So just kind of make sure you don't go in by yourself and try to hold off on doing one until you had a record or two placed.
Publishing is a major part of this game. Publishing is what you write, you know, so you gotta try to hold that down. And it gets crazy, like checks go everywhere. You know what I'm saying? If you don't got the right people on top of your music and the points and the splits and all that, you're gonna get screwed, bottom line.
There is absolutely no reason that I ever feel would be a good reason to sign away 100% of your publishing. I would, if I ran into anyone under any circumstances, I will guarantee you on this film that you're watching that you will live to regret signing away 100% of your publishing. If you meet a reputable person and you need some money and you want a partner and you want to do a co-publishing deal, there are co-publishing deals that are fair with reputable companies that can work. If someone asks you for 100% of your publishing, run.
You should sign with a publishing house that is going to connect you with other good songwriters, you know, with other good songwriters, and that you feel good about, and it's not just about, oh, give me songs, you know, and not that pressure on you.
But try to write your own material, because publishing is everything. You get a record deal for, like, let's say the average is like $300,000. It's the 2000s, so $300,000, $350 is average. Fucking say you got a good one. Say for instance you got 600 G's, right? That's the last time you're gonna see some money for a long time, because you got to recoup. And the reality of recouping to where you're paid is kind of like you got to go a whole lot of times platinum. So the only place for an artist where they're going to make money is through publishing, touring, merchandise, and songwriting for other people.
I don't know that much about publishing, but what I do know is that, you know, you've got groups around these days that kind of record companies put together because they think they could, you know, they can make a definite surefire hit. They get the right elements. They kind of construct this group and they get a song written for them and they go out and play this song and it becomes a big hit. But the people in that group are probably only going to make, you know, a few £1,000 each, even if the record's number one, because the money really, if you want to get down to money terms, is in the songwriting. If you write a song, then and you've got the publishing on it because you've written it, then that is really where you can earn money.
When you buy a song that generates income, it sits on the wall in a sense if you don't do anything, and it spits money at you. Every time it's played on the radio, every time a record's sold, every time it's used in a film, every time it's on a soundtrack album. So, you know, there's a reason these songs are called or were called copyrights or evergreens, because they will stay healthy and prolific and producing money forever.
At that time, being set up with other songwriters, which didn't start to be very fruitful for me at the time. I at least did it because I felt like anything towards my craft that helped my craft was at least a positive step in the right direction. And that was one of the things that the publishing deal did for me. It allowed me to have a monthly stipend, and it allowed me to have access to other artists and to be able to get my songs to other artists. And at the right time, I met Don Henley, who gave me a gig as a background singer. And he was actually the person that said, you know, you really need to quit. You're at a point in your life now, you need to quit giving your songs away, and you need to start building up a catalog of demos and try to be the communicator of your own music. And that was what I did, but it took having somebody say, you're ready now, and this is the, you know, this is the way you should be thinking. And he was really the catalyst for my having that kind of faith in myself.
Recoupability is a very, very big word in the music industry, and the music industry, when you're a band, your record label is someone who believes in you, but they're like a bank that believes in you, and they let you borrow money. because it takes money to bring the band out, to record the record, to put you on tour, to do a video, and all types of things, and to market. And they really have to pay money.
You really pay for it. At the end of the day, anything you do, you know what I mean? Anything you do, whatever you eat, no matter what hotel you stay at, how much money you spend. A lot of artists don't realize that. They think, oh yeah, the record company's paying for it, but it's really coming out of your pocket in a way, you know, because it's all investment made in you, and it's going to affect. If it doesn't affect that album, it's going to affect the next album. The company has to recoup their money. I mean, just think of it that way. You know, if they spend $2 million on you, they got to recoup more than $2 million.
And if you take a big advance up front, you bet your ass they're going to recoup all of that before you start seeing a dime from your record sales. So, all of that you got to keep in mind. You know what I mean? That, hey, not everything they give you is a gift. You know what I mean? Or they just, you know, I know people that just come in this business and have record companies paying for their apartments. I'm like, you know, a Manhattan apartment and rah. Don't know that shit's coming out of your shit later on. You should know that if you could stay at a shit motel while you make your record, it's going to be cheap on you. And the more money, I love receiving money on the back end. So I'm going to end with that anyway.
I'm happy to say I'm recouped. Yes.
I'm still recouping. We in the hole. You know what I'm saying? They had to pay a lot of money to get us off the other label. So, you know, we almost though, you know. By the end of the day, it's gonna be happily ever after again. But right now we in the hole and we just working our way out slowly.
And you ain't never gonna recoup. Just put it in your mind. You're never gonna recoup. Because with the money they give you, the $600,000 that you got, they still have to do a video. And most deals, and the average is you recoup half of the video expense. Say, for instance, you got $600,000. That means you're probably going to have a pretty big budget for your video, or an all video. So each video is probably going to cost like, what, 100. Say, for instance, you get 150 G's. You got to recoup half of that. So you're probably going to have 2 videos. So that's more money you got to recoup. Say, for instance, it puts you on a road, and you got, you know, tour support. That's more money you got to recoup. So just keep in mind, you probably ain't going to recoup unless you're making cookie cutter pop records.
When the record company advances the band or the artist money, it's usually what is called recoupable. Recoupable means that the first profits go back to paying that debt. If there are no profits, they can't recover it. That's the difference between recoupable money and recoverable money. Recoverable money is like they lent it to you. If it all goes south, nobody buys any records, you got to pay it back. That's actually, fortunately, very rare. Recoupable means that advance they gave you, that $6 million advance, okay, that $50,000 advance. That means that you don't get any royalties until they've recovered that money. That limousine, that famous limousine, well, that's recoupable. They cut the check. They paid for it, but you don't get any royalties until that limousine's paid for. Your money.
You usually get an advance of some sort, you know. We got a small publishing advance. It was tiny. It was like $40,000. Split 4 ways. Gets smaller and smaller, and then people take their chunks. But, you know, we basically each lived off about $10,000 for 4 years each. But, you know, we all lived in one apartment together. We all, you know, we didn't even have a car. We walked everywhere. You know, we ate dinner at Ralph's. You know, you just steal equipment from people. You know, you do whatever. I mean, sometimes it's not the nicest stuff. But I just see so many bands, they get an advance and they run out and they buy a really nice car or something. Like, that's the last money you're going to see for a couple of years. The last thing you need is a car, you know. So I just always have to assume that every dollar you get may be the last dollar you get.
Advances that artists get are never returnable. Advances that artists get are only recoupable from their royalties. If there are no royalties, it never gets recouped and the record company writes it off. The quid pro quo, again, is that the record company takes the financial risk in front by putting up the money. The artist takes the risk that if they're successful, they have to pay for their own recording costs. But if they're not successful, the record company eats the money. They're in the business of risk-taking. They have to determine which artists they sign and which they don't.